Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley. A quick heads up, this is our last roundup for the week. We're all going to be celebrating American Thanksgiving. We're going to take Friday off, maybe fight some people for good sales. Just kidding, we won't do that because it would involve leaving the house. But we won't be here on Friday regardless. So this is our last roundup, but we will have more videos for you guys coming throughout the week and the weekend. So keep an eye out for those. But wait, what are we here for? News. Well, it is the season for the holidays. We're just about to have one after all. And in the gaming world, financial reports, the real gift. GameStop has joined the fray with their quarterly earnings report, and judging by the numbers, things are looking pretty good for the company. Sales are up 1.5%, bringing their totals up to $2 billion for the quarter, with a huge jump in profit as well. But more interesting for gamers is the information they shared regarding the Xbox One X and Call of Duty World War II, which helped fuel most of that quarterly success. According to GameStop, the new Call of Duty is selling 64% better than last year's entry, Infinite Warfare, which is about in line with other reports we've heard from around the globe. In addition to that, they say the Xbox One X is also selling very well, and they're expecting demand to keep eclipsing the actual supply. And in a bit more somber news, unfortunately, it was also announced this week that GameStop CEO Paul Raines is stepping down to continue to recover from health issues following the removal of a brain tumor in 2014. Taking his place in the interim will be GameStop co-founder Daniel DiMatteo. So we wish Raines the best in his recovery. He's actually a really enthusiastic dude. He has a big heart for the gaming business, so I hope you get better, dude. Destiny fans got another small glimpse at some of what they'll be playing in the upcoming expansion, Curse of Osiris. In another live stream yesterday, the developer showed off some of the playable Mercury area, complete with the Infinite Forest, the largest area yet in the game. It's apparently a time-traveling forest that's filled with randomized adventures. The one they showed off on the stream featured a jumping puzzle. In addition to that, Bungie also showed off a new massive public event that requires several guardians spread all across the map, plus some endgame rewards via the Forge at the Lighthouse, which will now be a social space once you finish the main quest line. We can expect Bungie to show off even more of the expansion in the coming weeks leading up to its release on December 5th. We always know something is happening because Mika screams. Who says there can't be such thing as AAA indie titles? There totally can. Ninja Theory just announced that their $30 AAA experiment Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice hit a major sales milestone, surpassing 500,000 copies in just 3 months, well ahead of schedule. According to them, this puts the game in the profitable zone, bringing in more than $13 million in revenue. Company co-founder Tamim Antoniadis said in a statement, "The escalating stakes in the AAA retail publishing model has killed off countless independent studios like us, many smaller publishers, and is now straining even the largest of publishers. This isn't survival of the fittest, but a routing of the creative base upon which this industry was built. The future isn't written, and we don't believe that the writing is on the wall. AAA will always exist, but we need strong alternatives as well. The more data we have for alternative business models, the more developers can take informed commercial and creative risks. It's almost as if good single-player experiences can exist if they keep their budgets in line." Huh, imagine that. So E3 gave us our big mid-year dose of game reveals and trailers, and it looks like the Game Awards is looking to do the same thing come December. In recent tweets about the show, producer Jeff Keighley said that in terms of the sheer number of games they have in store, this is going to be the biggest world premiere lineup they've done yet. In another Twitter exchange, one gamer asked if any of those world premieres include games we don't know about yet. Keighley answered with a definitive, "Yes, definitely." Posters on Reset Era have done some speculating about just how many reveals this could lead to, and according to one poster, the previous record holder was in the Spike iteration of the show back in 2014, which featured 12 world premieres. With the Game Awards just a few weeks away, that means, hey, it's time to get those predictions and speculation engines up and running. So what do you think we'll be seeing at the show? The Game Awards will air on December 7th, so not long to see if you're right. After a couple of weeks of delays, it looks like Call of Duty World War II has finally got the thing everyone's been asking for: microtransactions. Alright, so maybe really no one's been asking for it, but hey, they're in the game now. Sledgehammer launched the marketplace this week now that they've got the social spaces fixed, giving players the opportunity to purchase lots of Call of Duty points to trade for rare supply drops. Thanks to a recent data mine, some players are a bit miffed at how many weapons are behind these drops rather than base weapons in the game, but at the moment you can still get them just by playing the game or buying them, which is probably what Activision would prefer. If you keep hearing us talk about Chinese publisher Tencent and have no idea why, well, it's because they're freaking huge. That name pops up just about everywhere these days. The company just released their Q3 financial report, which reveals that they generated nearly $5 billion in revenue in the past few months alone. If you're wondering, that $5 billion number is bigger than the quarterly revenue of Activision, Blizzard, EA, Take-Two, and Ubisoft combined. And as it turns out, things are only going to get more lucrative for them in the coming months because they've just reached a deal with Bluehole to exclusively publish PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds in China. Now, you may remember that China has had a bit of a problem with Battle Royale style games, but don't worry, they're gonna make some modifications to the content so it's more in line with their values. Well, alright, the further we go down the rabbit hole of sexual harassment in Hollywood, the worse it's getting, because apparently no production outfit is safe, not even Pixar. New reports just came out about John Lasseter, the studio's chief creative officer. He's stepping down from his post amidst allegations of grabbing, kissing, and making comments about physical attributes of employees. Lasseter sent out a memo to his staff before these reports went live, writing that he's made some missteps in management, which is one way to put it. Disney said they fully support his sabbatical. Surprising no one. This is not sexual allegations related, but it's still not a surprise. It looks like Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi is in store for a ridiculously huge opening weekend. I know, surprise, surprise. So far, early tracking has the movie landing at a domestic haul of just over $200 million with 3 weeks still to go. For comparison's sake, that's still no Force Awakens, which did $248 million domestically in its first weekend. But either way, Disney executives are probably pretty pleased about the early targets. At the moment, it seems clearly poised to pass Beauty and the Beast for the year's best opening to date. And keep in mind, Disney's had a lot of really strong openings this year. I mean, they got Marvel. The Last Jedi launches December 15th, so we'll see if it hits its targets. Now, what do you do if you're a tech company already accused of shady practices and then hackers breach your data? Big conundrum. Well, if you're Uber, you hire more hackers to cover it up, I guess. That seems to be the case with Uber right now based on a new report. Bloomberg reports that after a 2016 breach that saw the leak of data of 57 million Uber customers, the company apparently paid hackers $100,000 to delete the information and keep it all under wraps. Which, yeah, it doesn't sound exactly legal when you're supposed to disclose that information. Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi, who took over the company in September, well after the breach and cover-up, wrote in a blog post, "None of this should have happened, and I will not make excuses for it. While I can't erase the past, I can commit on behalf of every Uber employee that we will learn from our mistakes." Just as reports indicated last week, we've now got confirmation that the FCC plans on a vote to end net neutrality safeguards. The FCC announced their proposal this week, seeking to end the Title II classification for internet providers, which allows the Commission to place stricter limits over them. Commissioner Ajit Pai said, "Under my proposal, the federal government will stop micromanaging the internet. Instead, the FCC would simply require internet service providers to be transparent about their practices so that consumers can buy the service plan that's best for them, and entrepreneurs and other small businesses can have the technical information they need to innovate." Yeah, okay. The full text of the plan is expected to be made available today. There's a lot of stuff going around the internet about this. A lot of examples being shown from countries like Portugal and New Zealand that don't have net neutrality protections in place, showing the kinds of packages you can expect where, oh, you can pay an extra $10 for monthly access to your streaming services like Netflix. Oh, but you want access to social media like Twitter? That's another $10, and so on and so forth. It's a big worry, but if you care about the internet and how it's used, and you might because here you are, me getting involved in the conversation. We'll link the piece we did last week in the end cards so you can get more information on what's being proposed and why it matters. Now, with all the complaints going on about publisher greed these days, There are some refreshing stories from around the industry every now and again that just make you feel a little bit better. According to a new blog post from Axiom Verge developer Tom Happ, the publisher of the 2D shooter is donating a huge chunk of the game's profits to the healthcare costs of Happ's son, who suffers from a lifelong condition known as kernicterus, which affects his hearing and motor functions. Happ wrote in his blog about the game's retail launch, "After we decided to move forward with Badland Games as the publisher, they offered to donate 75% of their share to a special fund dedicated to Lasseter's ongoing healthcare costs. They didn't want to publicize it since none of us wanted to be seen as trying to use my son's suffering as a marketing tool for the game. I hope this doesn't come off that way. I just wanted to thank them for their generosity in offering that up since it was definitely something they didn't have to do." So, yes, in the wake of all the crazy stuff that's going on, there's a really lovely bit of positive news to be thankful for before we head out for the holiday weekend. All right, that's all the news we have for you for this roundup. Let us know what you think of all this news in the comments down below. To make sure you get news from every corner of the internet every single weekday except for the next 2 weekdays, like this video. If you're new around here, subscribe to the know. If you're in the US, have an awesome Thanksgiving. If you're not, have some turkey anyway. It's really good. Then you can take a nap in just 3 months. Well ahead of schedule. According to them, this puts the game in the profitable zone, bringing in more than $13 million in revenue. Company co-founder Tamim Antoniadis? Yeah. Company co-founder Tamim Antoniadis, okay.